Okay, thank goodness we've actually remembered to record. So this is for Brigitte, who is giving a talk. I hope the talk went really, really well, and we'll see you back here in a little bit. So welcome everyone. There are 3 what we're calling development sessions through the day, each for this week, and you can pick one of those slots through the day. You're very welcome to kind of move around. And we've got schedules in the HackMD that will sort of allow us to kind of work quietly and then come back together, or working, when I say quietly, I mean you can be working collaboratively with people in small breakout rooms, small groups, or you can be working with the illustrator at the same time. And we'll be using this cuckoo clock, this sort of shared web page that keeps us all on the same time. And the collaborative notes, the link to kind of keep an eye on is this one, the HackMD link, which we've already all seen because we've signed in. And then I would also say there's a Slack channel called Book-November 2020, and that's a really great place. If you lose a link, just ping there to say, I've lost the link, I've lost the link, I've lost the Zoom link, I've lost the HackMD link, I've lost the Cuckoo link. Ping there, and someone, you know, Malvika, me, Martina, but anyone will be able to reply to you there. So please sort of do open up Slack, and if you don't use Slack, let us know, because then we can make sure to kind of get in touch with you through other ways. So just a couple of slides about the Turing Institute, because some of you may know the Turing Way, but you may not know the Turing Institute. So the Turing Institute is the UK's National Institute for Data Science and Artificial Intelligence. We have 13 partner universities across the UK, and we have lots and lots of different industry and government partners. And in 2018, this was we were given the funding in September, but it wasn't announced until December 2018, because there was this big thing called Britain leaving the European Union that kept meaning that the news got nudged and nudged and nudged because a member of Parliament wanted to announce it, but it was taking too long. So we got all of this money invested to revolutionize the way that government, industry, engineering, and science use data. So no big deal, just revolutionize how everyone uses data. And some of the challenges that the Turing works on, some of the ones that I'm particularly interested in, are revolutionizing healthcare, making algorithmic systems fair, transparent, and ethical. And I'm very interested in sort of supercharging research in the science and humanities. Obviously, the other ones are shining a light on the economy, safer and smarter engineering, fostering government innovations are really, really important. And the program that I lead is called Tools, Practices, and Systems, and it really sits sort of underneath all of these different challenges. So it's this infrastructure layer of making sure that you can take your domain expertise and use it in a way that others are able to build on top of. And there are skills that are needed for that, but there's also like a cultural change that's actually needed for that to happen. So it's not just skills that are missing in terms of being able to kind of benefit from what data could potentially give us. You also need to be able to kind of think a little bit more collaboratively, in my opinion, and in a longer sort of time frame to benefit. And so the Turing Way is this project that we sort of conceived to be this foundational layer. It is a book, and we're at a book dash, so we're sort of contributing into the book in some way. But the book is, in my opinion, not the most interesting part. The book is like the thing that we all gather around, and I'm really glad that some people find it helpful, but it's the community that's the most exciting aspect, because my ultimate goal for success is that people feel that they are empowered to contribute into an open ecosystem. And so the book gives you some skills, but it's more about the feeling of stepping out there and helping people sort of learn from what you have to share. It's a global collaboration, and it's a whole ton of work. So this is a book, it's a Jupyter book, and there are 5 sort of main sections, with a community handbook, which is another section in and of itself, and a very, very important one. I'm just going to see what the next slide is. Yeah, so it started as a book on reproducibility. So the first round of funding that we had was just focusing on reproducibility. And actually, when you start to pull on the thread for reproducibility, there's so many different steps in there. But we've really kind of grown and brought people in to expand on that. Over the last couple of years, there's more than 100 subchapters, more than 200 contributors, and a really beautiful, successful community of practice, which is, like I said, the thing that makes me most joyful. This is a slide this is in the Turing Way now. This was sort of one of the backbones around reproducibility. This is a slide that I made quite a few years ago now that sort of looks at the different elements of what we mean by reproducible. There's a whole subchapter on the Turing Way about it, so I'm going to jump over it now, but that was sort of our foundational kind of underpinning of the differences. What do you mean when you say reproducible? And then when you start to think about the barriers to reproducibility, actually a lot of them are incentives, and they're not just the software engineering or the data management that's required to do things reproducibly. You actually need to be designing your project to be reproducible, to be reused, to be open from the very start. You need skills in how to collaborate. This is like one of my biggest and one of my most favorite soapboxes, which is that putting people in a room together and telling them to kind of work together is not in fact an effective way of having people really truly benefit from each other's expertise. So you have to build a safe and trustworthy environment that nurtures and sort of really inspires people to work together to build something that's greater than the sum of their parts. You also need particular skills in communicating everything that you're doing. So it's not really enough to just do a reproducible study. If no one's going to know that it exists, if no one's going to be able to benefit from it, what's the point? And those are communication tools. And I, for example, would put Project Binder, which is a way of sharing Jupyter notebooks or scripts of different languages, including, for example, in RStudio, through the browser. And I would put that, people think of that as a reproducibility tool. And it works because it is reproducibly deployed, but actually it's a communication tool and it's an engagement tool. And then we also have this other book, which is the ethics book, and that's thinking about making sure that everything we do as practitioners of data science, and you can be a practitioner of data science in government, industry, in the arts and humanities, in various different sciences, you should be thinking about your sort of ethical responsibilities in everything that you do. And it's a global collaboration. And as I sort of said, there's an awful lot more to collaborating than just putting people in the same place, exchanging knowledge and sort of producing something. There are also skills around making sure that you have an inclusive workspace, that you explicitly invite people to join you, and that you treat each other kindly in a diverse and inclusive team. So this is now, we're sort of starting to get to the really important stuff for this next week. There are tons and tons of ways to contribute. So a lot of people think that the way to contribute to the Turing Way is to write new content. And you totally could, you totally could write new content. If you wanted to, you could share some of your knowledge. You've all been selected because you have expertise that we would like to learn from. But you may also want to start by helping to fix bugs and typos and errors. Someone this morning pointed out that our glossaries at the end of each of the chapters are very sadly out of date and sort of look like they have not been nurtured and cared for, which is exactly true. And so there's lots and lots of ways of contributing in very small ways if you're looking to sort of build up your GitHub skills and kind of dip your toe in a little bit. You can chat with people, you can brainstorm with them, you can get excited, you can tell people about the project. There's lots of slides and we just have a new poster to be able to kind of share the resources. We really need help reviewing pull requests. So during the week, please think about one of your goals may be to work with others to kind of review the work that they're doing, give them really valuable feedback to make sure that they're moving forwards. If you're skilled in another language, unlike me, if you speak another language that isn't English, You may be interested in helping to translate the book. That is wildly exciting, and I'd be very, very keen to support anyone that wants to make it more accessible to people from people who speak other languages. And then you can, I actually am not 100% sure what Malvika is talking about with this improve our culture one, but you should just go ahead and improve our culture by literally being here and contributing and improving us in all of these different ways. So there are tons and tons of ways, and we really appreciate every single one of them. In fact, that's like the success. And a note on the name, and this is, you are already here, so you kind of don't really care about this, but this is super important if you go away and tell anyone about the project. The Turing Way is a very ambitious name. I think it's a really exciting name for a national institute to sort of back as a project, but people do think that it is people who are employed by the Turing telling you what to do. I don't think anyone thinks that it's what Alan Turing is telling you what to do, because he was not around for a lot of these computational reproducibility skills, but people think that it is someone employed at the Turing Institute telling you what to do, and it really is not that. And I would love for everyone to go and tell as many people as you can that we're really trying to kind of have everyone think about this as a journey, as a road that we are all going along together, and that we are developing along the way rather than a set of rules from on high. Loads of different contributions. I think I'm going to skip over this slide and you should come back to it. There's just tons and tons of different things that you can do. And thank you. I love that we have so many contributors now that we can't, we'd have to make everyone smaller to fit them onto this slide. So I think we're going to need to come up with some code that just shuffles everyone in an interesting way for new project presentations as we go along. We are very proud. So earlier this year, Malvika and I did a lot of work and a lot of sort of deep thinking about how to best acknowledge people who contribute to the book, because there are so many different ways in which you can contribute, and counting the lines of that you've written is not an appropriate way of doing it. Because what if you reviewed and you removed a bunch of lines and you made it easier to read and learn from? That would be a fantastic contribution. What if you reviewed and you didn't actually add anything at all? You just helped someone out along the way. What if you you contribute by mentoring others, for example? So we have this file called contributors.md. And what we do is we ask you to write down sort of your, credit yourself in the way that means most to you. So if, for example, you're likely to go looking for software engineering jobs, write down that you've written a bunch of stuff, or you've contributed around collaborative working on GitHub or whatever the content was. If, however, you're more interested in getting jobs that are related to data management, highlight the work that you've done around some data standards for the Turing Way. If you're very, very keen on reproducible research because it changes and makes it a more inclusive culture, highlight the things that you've done there. So we really want to make sure that I'm emphasizing this, because this is my big goal for the project, for this week, sorry, it's also my goal for the project, is to make sure that we're highlighting you in the way that you want to be best acknowledged. And just as a side note on this, we don't have individual authors on chapters, so you can't put your name on a specific chapter. You can reference previous material that you wrote, so you should absolutely reference that. That's totally fair. But there's a really big barrier to people coming along and editing a chapter if they feel that it's owned by somebody else that's come before them. So everybody is an author on the Turing Way if you have contributed significantly, and it's your contributors file, that's your entry there, that really allows you to shine. Tons and tons of different ways. We already said this, and we'll put cute little emojis next to your name to highlight whether you've, for example, given a talk, whether you've found some funding, whether you've contributed some ideas, whether you have fixed a bug or improved the accessibility of the project. I think I've already talked about the community, so I'm going to skip over this slide, but I also really love it. We follow these inclusive principles for open leadership, making sure that the work is understandable, accessible, clear, that we design the work from the beginning to be able to be adapted, reproduced, spread, reused in other projects. And then we really hope that you will continue to engage with us and feel like, because you are, that you're part of the decision-making process and the direction for the book. So during the week, if you think that there are important directions that we're not highlighting or that we could do better on or that we should be promoting more heavily because we're doing a really good job on it, let us know, because we would really like to hear all of that input. Okay, that's all of me talking for now. And so what we're going to do is just put you into, Malvika, can you tell me how many breakout rooms we should do?
3% each breakout should be enough. Let me see how many we are. 8, well, 6. So 2 breakout rooms should be enough.
We'll do 2 breakout rooms. And that slide said, explore and discuss what you'd like to see in the book and how you can contribute. And maybe have a think about the sort of SMART goals that we asked you to think about in the pre-meeting last week. So just get to know each other, sort of feel free to use this time to say, I don't know the direction that I want to go in, or I've got this light idea. And we'll give you 10 minutes to be able to kind of get to know each other there. I am host, so I am going to move people in here. Shall I put them in spare rooms, Malvika?
You can recreate the room, actually. So it looks like...
You can create them all now?
If you can... if you click on the breakout, on the bottom, you'll see recreate the rooms.
Yeah, I can do this. Recreate. And we'll do 2 breakout rooms, yes?
Yes. And maybe put Neha and Paul in different rooms because they'll be working with each other a lot. They can get to know other people.
That's fab. And Malvika, shall I keep you out so that you get a little bit of a break because you've been working really hard all?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I think.
You don't need to join this. Okay, so Neha and Paul, you're in different rooms. And I'm going to click open and we'll see you back here in 10 minutes. I guess I should have asked for questions. Whoops.
Oh, we can stop the recording.
Oh, yeah, well done. Excellent. So we contribute via GitHub, and that's a sort of very strongly opinionated move of encouraging people to learn the skills of contributing via GitHub. So it's a bit of a sort of meta kind of goal with the project. So even though contributing through GitHub is quite difficult to learn, we do know that, and that it is a bit of a barrier. The purpose is to try and welcome people as they learn those skills. We have a code of conduct, we have contributing guidelines, we have the README, and we have our contributors.md file. So there's lots and lots of information in there. It can be very intense to sort of navigate. And these are some photos from some of the folks who came to previous Book Dash events. We really mean it. I know I sort of emphasized this before, that having a diverse group of people with expertise and lived experience from lots and lots of different walks of life is the success criteria for the book. I've just remembered that. Did you start recording, Malvika? Yeah, you're the best. So a quick sort of note about we also run these online collaboration cafes. So they are just 2 hours long every 2 weeks, and it's a space to bring everyone together to sort of set aside time to ask questions, to answer questions, to work with each other to kind of move forward their contributions. And a quick sort of note about the name of the Book Dash is that, so Book Sprint is like a sort of reasonably well-known sort of way of getting people together for an intense, usually a week-long amount of time. And the Book Dash was made up, so in person we run it in over 2 days. So we have people to come together, they work for 2 days intensively, and then they go home, and we always get feedback from people saying, we wish that it had been longer. And we also don't change it until coronavirus comes along, because actually setting aside 3 full days is much harder than setting aside 2 full days to work on the project. So this is our first remote book dash, and what we are sort of hoping for is a similar level of commitment as the 2 full days, but it's just going to be, it would just be impossible to get everyone online given the sort of different time zones. And so that's why we have a few sessions over 5 days. Our metric of success, Malvika and my metric of success, is a little bit that you achieve a couple of your SMART goals, but it's more that you stay engaged with the community going forward. So we're really, really keen for you to kind of use this time to build up your confidence, feel like you really understand the project, and contribute sort of where you see your expertise could fit. Here are some beautiful smiling faces, so thank you to everyone who came on. I think I've already said this. And we have a code of conduct. Our code of conduct applies in person events and online. And we don't tolerate behavior that is disrespectful to the community members or that excludes, intimidates, or causes discomfort to others. In brief, the code of conduct asks you to please be respectful of different viewpoints and experiences, use welcoming and inclusive language, do not harass people, respect the privacy and safety of others, be considerate of others' participation, and then also please don't be a bystander. So if you see others who feel uncomfortable or who look like they are not sort of able to participate in the community, please say something, because we would like very much to know about that so that we can do something to improve their experience. Myself, Malvika, Sarah, who's coming during the day, and Martina, who's here this evening, are all here to help. So you can get in touch with them. You can either email the turingway@gmail.com email address, or you can email me or Malvika, or you can send us messages on Slack. So there's lots of ways of getting in touch. We really encourage you to do so. This is where I'm going to start skipping over lots of slides. This is where I want to encourage you to remember that these slides exist so that you can loop back to them as you need them. We have tons and tons of contributing guidelines. They're actually sort of slightly intimidatingly long. We have ways of helping you to join the community, thinking about ways to make sure that our language is as inclusive as possible, lots of ways of getting in touch. We have a few suggestions and links out to getting started with GitHub, writing in Markdown, the Turing Way style guide, which I think is now in the community handbook, as it says. And there's the link for how you can find the style guide. So please do check that out. And here are the various different tons and tons of ways. My strong recommendation for during the event is to use the Slack channel. Oh, this also doesn't mention the Slack channel. So you could probably, that's a good first issue that someone could fix if they wanted to. This is inside the contributing guidelines, but you can get in touch with us all of these different ways. What is the title of this? Right, so here's your contribution. First step, comment on an existing issue or open a new issue referencing your edition. And you can find the issues in the issues tab. And you can see that there are lots and lots in there with labels. And so if you're looking for a good first issue, there are ones that have been labeled. Paul made a lot of these, and there's lots in there at the moment. Those are good places to get started. You don't have to come up with what you're going to do. You can go and find those, check them out. At the moment, Paul is working on improving some of our templates for opening a new issue. So if you choose to open a new issue rather than using one that already exists, please currently for this week only use the general issue, because the other templates are slightly out of date or they're in flux, and so it makes a little bit more sense to just use the general one, please. This is what an issue looks like as you start to make it. So you're going to write a title at the top. That's the main thing that people are going to see. So if I just go back a couple of slides, one sec. This title here are what you're sort of choosing the issues on. So the title is quite important. Add your title. fill in, so where you see this caret exclamation mark and the dashes, that's a comment. So that's just sort of giving you some guidance. It's not going to be rendered by the markdown. So you can read it, but then just ignore it. And then please replace wherever it says lorem ipsum. Lorem ipsum is just holder text. It doesn't mean anything for the book. And so replace that with some of the prompts for your particular piece of work that you're suggesting. You can add assignees and labels where relevant. We don't really use the projects or the milestones tabs, so they're not going to be particularly helpful to you. And you can submit the issue, and off you go. So here is an example of an issue that Malvika made for herself to then plan this whole event. So this is the type of thing that you can see. And I suggested doing so. That's me. Sorry, these are Malvika's slides and I can't remember exactly what comes up next. So that's an example of who's assigned. So Kirstie is assigned to have a look at this issue, and there are various different tags to help us find it in the future. And you can search on those labels. Next, fork the Turing Way. That becomes your own copy. You can make changes in your fork and do whatever you want. Changes won't affect anything else. Try to keep the changes focused. Try to do one thing at a time. You can use different branches if you want to make multiple different changes. If you're not confident about what that means, that's like a Git sort of term, get in touch. We'll help you, like just ping us on Slack and we'll come and help work with you and explain that. And then you're ready to submit your pull request, and it's really helpful to submit it as early as possible so that we can help you. We don't want you to spend like the whole four days of the week working on something that it turns out already exists in another chapter somewhere else, or we've already decided we should go in a different direction. And please have a look and review other people's pull requests as well. I'm going to keep rocking along because these slides I think are more useful when you're actually doing it. So like I said, remember that these slides already exist. And if you add the book dash November 20 label, that makes it really easy for us to be able to track what you did during this event. So it's not super important, it's not totally necessary, but it is very helpful for us to know kind of what happened as a result of running this event. I'm gonna let you read this when you get to it. Same with this one. This is an important one. So when you submit your pull request, it will automatically, oh, sorry, this is the important one, sorry. If you add a new chapter or a subchapter, you can't just add it in the folder book/website/guide name, it's the book name /chapter name. You also need to edit the book/website/_TOC table of contents file. And that's the screenshot that you can see on the left-hand side here. So if you don't put your new chapter or subchapter in the table of contents, it won't be rendered, it will exist. You haven't lost all of your work, but it won't be seen. And then when it is seen, when you make the pull request, and I encourage you to make sure that you're filling in the lorem ipsum text here as well. So fill in the text about what's going on, list of changes, what people should concentrate their feedback on. And then the Netlify bot will preview it for you, which is a really nice way of making sure that everything is laid out the way that you were intending. So this link down here, the deploy-preview-1459, that will allow you to see the book as it would look when the pull request is merged. So that's for your reference. Those are your various different steps here. Please do have a look at the ready to review pull requests. WIP ones are work in progress ones. And there's lots and lots of different ideas there of ways in which you can contribute. And importantly, no contribution is too small. So we're here to help you. I think I've said that an awful lot. The book-November 2020 channel is the best place to kind of get started, to ask a question. Folks will be able to come and support you there. Please also use it for social. We want you to have a good time and enjoy talking with each other. Please keep the HackMD up to date. That's really good for helping people across those different sessions get to know each other and see what's going on. But also we have to write a report at the end of the event. Well, we don't have to, but we choose to write a report at the end of the event. And so if you can keep every sort of session, if you can keep updating us on what you've achieved or where you found things challenging, we can pull those out, which is really helpful. As of tomorrow, no, now for this session, that's not true. Only Wednesday for this session will we have an artist working with us. If you come to other sessions, you'll be able to work with the artist, but they're coming early and then late on Wednesday and then early on Thursday. And you will have, during the session on Wednesday, you'll be able to go, but also you can join earlier if you want to work with them. You'll be able to work with the artist to illustrate some of the concepts that you're working on. Please bring to that conversation the point that you want to make. You don't have to worry about what it's going to look like. That is their skill. That is what they are particularly talented and expert in. So come thinking, I want to get this point across, and you'll be able to work with them. The artist's name is Jem, and they'll be in a breakout room during Zoom. Thank you for being with us. Thank you so much. And I'm finally done. So let me stop there. Would anybody like to ask a question or make a comment? So Laura has one of, will there be scheduled time to update the HackMD with a summary of what was done each day? So yes, why don't I quickly share my screen and find the...
Just wondering if you're gonna poke us
yeah,
every day as a reminder, or if I need to put a reminder for myself.
We absolutely will. So let me, so this first session is a bit sort of overly talky, but we'll always have at the end of each day, end of each development session, a report out opportunity. And I'm actually going to scroll to tomorrow's one, because then you'll get to see it. So this is the one for tomorrow. So tomorrow the Zoom room will open, we'll say hi for the first 15 minutes. Then we'll have a, is that a 25-minute, 35-minute Pomodoro. So you'll work for 35 minutes. And then we have 10 minutes to share back. And so what we will encourage you to do is capture what you're going to share back for each of those quick report outs. And yeah, so we will continue to keep reminding you. Are there any other questions that folks have? Asha, did you have a question?
If no one else did, I think I got my schedule a bit mixed up. So I was hoping to sort of jump into sessions where I'd like literally collaborate with the ethics team. So maybe I should like find the session that Laura, Sophia, and Ishmael are going to be present in, and then jump back in tomorrow.
I think that makes sense. I think having,
like I read the schedule wrong. Like it's just, sorry.
Yeah. And this is where we sort of want to allow you a space to be able to kind of coordinate with each other, because time zones are a factor, but also who you want to collaborate with is an important factor. And so please do use the Slack channel to kind of coordinate that amongst the sort of subgroups. So we've recommended people that you might want to talk with and work with, because we can sort of see how you would synergize well. But feel free to use your own sort of judgment and your own timing on setting that schedule.
Thanks, I'll do that. But the breakout room that I was sent into, that was really interesting discussion, and I've put up on like HackMD, like what I got out of it. So it was really good to meet Batu and Neha.
That's awesome. That's great. Super. I'm going to pause the recording actually because